grossly ill-prepared for today's show. Let's go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
The really
fun,
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 it's the really fun wow show.
fun, the really fun wow show. Oh, how fun.
Hello, and welcome to the Really Fun Wow Show. My name is Daren Thomas McGee. Let's do this. I don't have a beard. For those watching on YouTube, you might notice. Nobody watches this on YouTube. Maybe you can hear it. Maybe you can hear the acoustic difference there. Probably not. This is the Really Fun Wow Show. Today's show, I'm going to talk about something I am grossly underqualified to talk about, and that is meditation. I have been meditating for 4 months now, and I started doing meditation through transcendental meditation, which is a sort of a divisive version of meditation in that it's there's a financial component to it, which I know makes people uncomfortable, and I get it as someone who's a bit of a miser myself. I don't like having to spend money on things that I could otherwise get for free. Is miser a inappropriate term that a Gentile like myself shouldn't be using? Well, we'll find out in the comments, which I've disabled on YouTube. That is something I did immediately when I started putting these shows up on YouTube. I was like, I cannot handle the rawness of people on YouTube who feel compelled to leave a comment. So I try to mitigate commentary as much as possible in regards to the things that I create. One of the reasons I never started an Etsy page was that people can comment. And I know that most often people who comment are in kind of a how do I be kind here, a rough place in their life that they would feel compelled to go and leave a review. I mean, I understand the value of reviews if someone's trying to like get away with something and it's a scam, or like it's a very, very poorly made product and it shouldn't be sold, that it's kind of, the onus is on the purchaser to leave a review. But when you're like selling stuff like me, that's like art and just random little doodads, like I don't want to hear how you feel about it. Honestly, it's bad enough getting Instagram comments. So I digress. What the fuck was I talking about? Miser. Right. So the meditation that I do, transcendental meditation, is it called to me in a way that much like the way things that have benefited me have come into my life in a very kind of strange, unexpected way. I had heard about transcendental meditation through kind of various pop culture avenues, and I knew that Jerry Seinfeld, have you heard of him? That he has done transcendental meditation for a number of years, I think like several decades. And to me, he's a person that I really value comedically. I mean, I grew up watching Seinfeld, and I feel like my entire comedic sensibility is informed largely by Seinfeld. And so when I found out that he meditates, I was like, what? Really? It didn't match up in my mind, because he's, I grew up on an area of Long Island, not far from where he grew up. And so I kind of like understand that whole community, and that whole, the language and the speed and the whole vibe of Long Islanders. And so I was surprised when I found out that he has been meditating for a really long time. And then I started to kind of recognize how it potentially contributes to his ability to kind of see the world in a really unique way, and to put language to that. And just I started to kind of at least just, sort of make it make sense to me as to how Seinfeld may benefit from meditation. And then I briefly looked into it and saw that there was a local chapter in town, and reached out and to find out what the deal was. And I mean, I was certainly, the two things I was curious about most were, how much is it? And what is the mantra? Like, cause you get assigned a mantra. That's what this meditation practice is based on. You're assigned a mantra, and that's your mantra, and you're meant to kind of keep it to yourself and not tell anybody about it. And I was a little bit, titillated by the idea of like having a secret like that was mine and something that's really special and that I hold sacred. And so I was buying into it, hook, line, and sinker right from the get. And so I thought it was worth a shot going down and checking out and finding out what the deal was. What's the deal? And so I did that, and I followed that kind of impulse to go. And also knowing that Transcendental Meditation has a large celebrity followership, that also appealed to me because I'm a bit of a celebrity whore. I think I love the idea of popularity, of rising to a level of prominence where people know you for what you do, what you put into the world, how you express yourself. And so I've been considered something of a micro celebrity myself. So, I just thought, why not? Let's see. So I went down and I knocked on the door and I said, hello, I'm a micro celebrity. Let me in. I had a couple emails with this guy, Robert, who met me at his office. And he was a funny little character. He's also from the same area that Seinfeld is from on Long Island. And he's, I don't know, a man in his 60s, about 5'5", kind of small statured, a level of kind of energy that reminded me a bit of a kind of a Woody Allen-esque, that kind of say neurotic, but let's say neurotic, which threw me for a loop initially because I thought, well, shit, this guy's going to teach me how to meditate, and he seems to be a bit, kind of have a level of energy that doesn't read as still to me. But I put my my notions of judgment aside, and he brought me into this room, and it could not have been any more of a humble space. He was like in the back office of a chiropractor's office, and drop ceiling and sparsely furnished, and just there was a big poster from a I'll refer to Transcendental Meditation as TM from this point, which I have a hard time doing because it sounds a little pretentious, but for the sake of brevity, TM poster in the back that was advertising this event that they had years ago, and there was like Ringo Starr and Paul McCartney and all these other celebrities that were there, Sheryl Crow, and Seinfeld's face was on there, and it was behind him while he was talking, and I kept looking at it, and it was like sun faded, and just like it had this kind of, I don't know, the whole thing had this quality of a level of like low budgetness to me that, first of all, like that made me feel comfortable. Like I was like, this isn't just some scam that, like feel like the way Scientology kind of postures itself as really like this wealthy, well-to-do, just well-established thing. Like this TM office to me was just like, man, this could not be any more humble. It reminded me of the Al-Anon spaces that I visited, where there's no pomp and circumstance. It's just like, here's a place where we're going to meet, we're going to do a thing, you're going to learn a thing, and that's it. And so we sat in chairs across from each other, and he told me a little bit about the practice and a little bit about the origin. It felt like it wasn't really anything too in depth. And honestly, not that I wasn't curious, but I wasn't curious. And he was like, you have any questions? And I didn't have any questions. And then he would kind of talk a little bit more about his story, and he'd be like, you have any questions? I'm like, no, I still don't have any questions. And so it wasn't like, I don't know. I was just anxious to I was like anxious to get into it. I was anxious to like kind of just begin the practice. And so the first meeting, we just meet, decide whether or not it's a good fit, discuss pricing, which I'll be fully disclosing to you guys here. I paid, and this is a sliding scale system, based on your income, based on how much you're able to afford, how much you're willing to pay. So I think that's a big thing that I want to kind of like put out there to people. It is accommodatable in the sense that if you don't have money, they will make it work. Like this isn't like, I'm sorry, you don't have the money, so you can't learn Transcendental Meditation. So that's like, that's a really big thing to me, because I think that a lot of people kind of go in with, oh, you have to be rich or have some sort of level of income that makes it inaccessible to you. And I would say just like, forget about the money if you're interested in it. reach out to your local TM chapter and find out if there's something that can be arranged. And I guarantee you there is. You got my guarantee. Don't tell them I told you though, because I don't know if that's actually true. But that was the impression I got, that no one will be told no. And so I was feeling like I was happy to contribute the money that that fit under my income bracket, and I paid a grand total of $75,000, and I'm telling you it was worth it now. I'm just kidding. It was $780. And that was all in, and they're not going to hit me up for future donations. And obviously I could contribute more if I wanted to. And that money goes to people like Robert, who does this full time. He passes on this practice to people, and that's how he makes a living. I think it's a humble job. This dude is not like flush and driving a Cadillac. He's doing this thing because he's passionate about it and he really enjoys it, and he wants to continue to spread the word. So yeah, we settled up, and then I scheduled my first of 4 meetings with him. And on the first one, we met back in the office again, and he assigned me my mantra, which was done in a way that I often find kind of similar to when I'm in like ceremony with ayahuasca, where there's like that kind of level of I don't know, tradition, I guess. That to me is like, I've yet to find the thing that I would really like sink into and feel, that I feel I would identify with. And I recognize like everything I've said in my entire life that has been sort of like poo-pooing something, I've ultimately come around and found the value in it. So, we'll see. But so the way that it went was I sat in the chair and he did a Sanskrit prayer, I guess. Again, I don't really pay attention enough a lot of the times too. So, but I think it was a Sanskrit prayer I'm sorry. I had to go. So before I, when I showed up, I had to bring like 3 to 4 pieces of fresh fruit, a bunch of fresh flowers, and a white handkerchief. And it's like some kind of like a eccentric billionaire. You're showing up to his house and he requires you to bring these items, but instead it's an offering to fuck if I know, Dev. I'm sure people who practice TM are killing me, are dying right now. But the guy who created the TM practice, I just call him Dev. He's got a full name, and then there's Maharishi who learned from Dev and then brought it to the West. So like, this isn't going to be a lesson in the history of TM, as you can obviously already tell. So I had to bring those 3 things, and it was so funny because I was like, where the fuck am I going to get a handkerchief from? And I ended up going to Target, and I was like, I don't know. And I'm looking in the men's department, and I'm like, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a handkerchief anywhere. I saw like a handkerchief at like Sears back in like maybe 93, but I was like, I don't know. So I went over to the optical at Target, the optical department, and got one of those like glass cleaning microfiber towels, and it was white and it had the Target logo and like emblazoned all over it. And so I showed up with my Target logo glass cleaner and my fresh fruit and my flowers, and he presented them at the altar to a picture of your boy Dev, and he said the Sanskrit prayer, and then he said my mantra, which would be mine. He said it and he repeated it and he repeated it, and he turns to me and he tells me to start saying it and repeating it. Okay, now close your eyes, repeat it, and then stop repeating it out loud and repeat it in your head. And then that was it. And that was the beginning of my first TM experience. And so I closed my eyes and meditated for 20 minutes and repeated my mantra as much as I could. And that immediately becomes like an interesting part of it all for me, is that, you do your best to stay in your mantra and to just repeat it. And to me, it's like it's just a distraction. And I hope that doesn't demean it in any way, but that it is meant to be like the mantras that are signed don't really mean anything. They have some sort of vibration to them. Again, I can't speak on any of this because I don't really know or care necessarily, and kind of just like receive this and take people's word for it, and don't really do any extra research myself. So that to me is the way that I see it, as let's say your mind is a place that gathers fog, and the fog is the fog of thoughts. And then you're feeling clouded, and you're sort of attaching to thoughts and your worries and concerns and all the things that are just keeping your mind busy. And then you recognize that you haven't said your mantra. You say your mantra, and you repeat your mantra, and that's to me is like a little bit of a breeze that comes in and just clears the fog out. And then you're saying your mantra, and the space is staying clear for that amount of time. And then invariably, I don't know if I'm using invariably correctly, and never do. Invariably your mind the fog starts to kind of settle in again, and you've forgotten your mantra, and it's just this kind of like, fog comes in, breeze comes in, pushes the fog out, and just the process repeats and continues for 20 minutes. And he told me that, you don't want to set a timer for this. You don't want to be jarred out of it. And that eventually you will know when the 20 minutes is up. And I was kind of like, I don't know about that. And sure enough, it's true. I mean, sometimes I'll kind of peek and see I have like 3 minutes left. But when I nail it right at 20 and I open my eyes, it feels so fucking good. I love the feeling of just knowing, having a sense of that, of time in your mind and in your body, that feels like there's some real connection there. And so, another kind of the reason that I was compelled to go into learning a meditation practice, which again turned out to be TM, was that there was some lofty claims as to what it could provide, and one of them was like a sense of energy. And this I watched a couple talks that Seinfeld gave, because he'll kind of speak on like at TM conferences and things, and he said that we are cell phones, and TM is the charger, which is I think a really good way to put it. And I can speak to that. For me personally, I haven't napped since I started meditating, and I meditate, I try to meditate first thing in the morning if I can, when my kid's around. If not, I'll drop them off at school and meditate. And then I meditate, usually around 3 or 3:30, which to me is always been this time that is just like this weird limbo period between the afternoon and the evening. And I have this huge drop in energy and feel really spaced out and foggy. And so that's been for me like a time to basically just to rest my mind, and to have this place of stillness, and not needing to like caffeinate or feel like I need to go sleep or, push through it or whatever. It's just this time to just recharge and to rejuvenate. And I'm so grateful for that. That just became a kind of a benchmark for me that's really just so vital at this point. And I've been meditating twice a day for that long. I've missed a couple of days when I had some people in town, but not missed like my 3 o'clock one, but have meditated every morning for that long. And really just a handful of days that I've missed the second meditation. And the way that it's just kind of fit into my life, like I was a little bit concerned on the weekends when I have my kid, that I would be like, well, I'm not gonna be able to do that. But we come home and like kind of settle in for the day towards 2 or 3 in the afternoon, and I'll feel it. I'll be like, man, I'm ready to meditate, and I'll say, hey man, I'm gonna go meditate, and my kid is like super fucking cool about it. Doesn't bother me. Just gives me that space, and to be able to model that behavior and do that at such a young age for them, it's like, it feels amazing to me to know that I'm, of course, prioritizing myself, but then modeling a really good practice. It's incredible. I never in a million years would have thought that I would be so into this and so feel so affected by it in the best way possible. Like I can speak to the energy that it's given me, the spaciousness in my mind. I described it as we have in our heads, if you can imagine like that as a literal space where we think inside of our heads, that's a finite amount of space. And our thoughts are just bouncing around inside there, bouncing off the walls and reverberating, and sometimes gaining more speed because it's such a finite amount of space. And it's just like this frenetic, chaotic process that our minds go through. And for me with meditation, I feel like that space has literally gotten larger, and that I'm actually able to allow these thoughts to kind of have the space that they need in order to kind of run themselves out like you would for a child. If you just pinned a child into a small room, it would just be cabin fever, stir craziness would set in very quickly. And so you give a kid a big field to run in, and they're going to run it out and just like get all that energy out. And so I feel like to be able to expand the capacity of your mind for your thoughts to have more space to just like run out on their own momentum and just sort of take their own importance out of themselves. Because I think when they're in that finite space of a small mind that doesn't have the spaciousness, that they become fucking way too real, and they become way too damning, and just like they're too much. It's too much. And then we act out, and then we respond to the enormity and the intensity of those thoughts that they just become our reality. They become truth very, very quickly when they don't have the leg room to spread out and just recognize that they're not really that important, and they're not something to attach to at all. They're just thoughts that you have. And, for me, the thoughts aren't gone. You can't not have thoughts. And they pass by a lot quicker and they move on. And so in meditation for me, I can tell in a morning where I'm considering a lot to what I want to do throughout the day, what I need to get done, and also just that like reprioritization of thought, where your mind has that capacity to prioritize things in a way that are so much like most of the shit. I mean, I've been privileged enough to create a life for myself that I don't have a lot to have to do, or even feel like I need to do anything. Like there's a level of abundance that I've created where I'm allowed to kind of just have time to do this. And I really feel like meditation in and of itself to me is a privileged practice. And I don't want that to feel like nobody can have, other people can't have it if they don't have the privilege of time that I have. I think with any good practice in your life, it's up to you to prioritize it and say, like, I'm going to carve out 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes in the afternoon to do this, because it's going to provide for me in its own right. So I just feel like it's such a radical practice for me, because I do have a mind that's, very active and always kind of trying to be creative, and being in a creative field that requires me to have new ideas and be clever and come up with just a lot of mental energy is expended on my business, and also just like the joy of creating. And so the time to sit for 40 minutes total in a day to just be like, not that you can't think about that, but to just like, hey, can we just kind of like sit still for a little bit and see what happens, see what comes of it, and to allow the thoughts to pass. And there's times where I'll have an idea, like I feel like a really good idea, and I'm like, oh, I should really like pop out of meditation right now and write this down. And I don't, and I just let it pass. And I'm like, if it's that good, it'll come back. If it needs, like, there's not like, it's the way that I see it is this like very kind of like high energy child that starts in my mind is just like bouncing around and jumping from one thing to another. And there's a calm adult, grown, mature presence sitting next to him, and is just, every now and then just maybe giving a slight touch on the shoulder, like, just like peace, stillness. And the child will still become still for a moment, and then just invariably the energy will build up, and the kid will need to jump around and do a couple jumping jacks, and then, okay, still. And so that's the process. And that gets, I mean, I can attest that gets easier and easier every time you practice. And I just think that to me, it seems like the hardest thing for people to find a regular practice is to practice regularly. Like that's really the hardest part of it. And you can, the it's just so funny because it's not the actual practice itself isn't hard, but doing it but committing to it, that's really the most difficult part. And I think that it's just, and it's in a beautiful way. I'm going to adjust the mic as I always fucking do. God damn it, Daren, get it together. This show is the worst. the way that oh, that's so much better. God, I should have been talking this close to the microphone the whole time. There's one of the things that felt really good to me was just the assurance that you can't do this wrong. That even if you're sitting in practice for 20 minutes and you haven't said the mantra once, doesn't matter. You did the practice. You prioritized yourself. You prioritized stillness, just sitting quietly like that. That is such an alleviation of any sort of pressure to it. And I think that, people who start immediately and close their eyes for 3 minutes and be like, your like eyelids are literally flooding. Jesus. Your eyelids are literally fluttering from just the energy that's just bouncing around in your mind, and then you quit. I get it. I understand that you could say, oh, I can't meditate. Well, you just did it for 3 minutes. So try it for 4 next time. And I think that for me, it was the helpfulness of having a facilitator there. Much like if you were to go to the gym and start lifting weights and be like, nah, I can't really work out. And you're like, well, nobody was really there to like show you anything. And as hands off as my facilitator was, because there's not like, he can't climb into my mind and like help me with this, just having him there and having his presence and knowing that somebody was there kind of holding me to this, that I couldn't, if I was doing this like an online course and I did it for 3 minutes and be like, nah, I can't do this like that. I'm like, all right, not only did I pay for this, but there's this person sitting here and I'm not just going to like quit on this. And so one of the things that somebody told me this, and I don't know if I can even fact check this, but I like it and I've attached to it. But Maharishi, the guy who took the practice from our boy Dev and brought it to the West, and he was the one that said you got to charge Westerners for this because otherwise they won't take it seriously. And I think that that's fucking spot on. So yeah, just that kind of extra added accountability to it is to say, this is something that I'm going to take seriously. And really, I'm telling you, it's just the matter of doing it. It's a matter of committing to it. And never, ever could have thought I'd be in a position to be expounding on the benefits and virtues of meditation, like the way that I do with the other practices I have of just, it's like not, the same thing with working out where you don't get fit and then you're done. You have to do this every single day. And I'm telling you, it feels really good. And the freeness of the mind, the ability to not worry about shit as much, to really be able to catch yourself when you recognize that you're like caught in your thoughts and you're being run by them, and you have that you developed that really strong relationship as the witness to your thoughts, that you're not your thoughts, you're the witness. And you really just develop that confidence of like, man, none of this shit is serious at all. Like, goddamn, my brain is so fucking dramatic. My ego is so intense. And you look at it like family members where you're just like, yeah, that's my uncle. He's out of his mind. But I love him and he's vital. But he's out of his mind. And so I think that's really, for me, that feels like what it's done for me is it's kind of separated myself from myself in a way that just allows me to kind of laugh at myself a lot more and really just not take things seriously. Because ultimately you're going to die, and why take any of this seriously? I don't think it's worth it. So I would encourage anyone who's curious, if this piqued your curiosity at all, to look into it. I know there's chapters all over the world, so maybe follow that, or I just know there's like, obviously this is just one of a myriad of ways to practice meditation, but I hope that this is the sign you've been looking for to just close your eyes for some time during the day and see what it does for you. And again, don't judge the fact of whether or not you did it right or wrong. You did it, and that's it. And I just really can't believe I did a whole episode on meditation. But I'm glad that I did, and I'm glad that I feel at least that I've benefited from it enough to share it with you all. So I love you.
That was the really fun wow show. All right, we're done.
Oh, yep.
Okay, bye.